Coming up here on Retiring Well, join us for a special episode on Cook Family Farm here in Gaylord, Michigan. We're going to be talking about farming and finances. So we're going to take a little tour, go see some pigs, some cattle, some big draft horses. You don't want to miss this episode.
Retiring Well, brought to you by Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors specializing in retirement planning and serving all of northern Michigan. Retiring Well, helping you plan for a successful and comfortable retirement. Retiring Well, plan to retire well.
All right, welcome folks to a special episode of Retiring Well. My name is Nick Greenman. I'm here with my mother-in-law and the owner of Cook Family Farm. This is Waneta Cook, and we are right here on the farm in Gaylord, Michigan. So I just want to take a few quick seconds here to introduce my mother-in-law and kind of go over a little bit of history on the farm. So Waneta, how did this all come about?
Well, you know, I grew up just outside of Alpena, and I was thankful to be able to grow up on my grandparents' farm. And the one thing about the farm is all of us were drawn there. Everybody loved to be there, and it was a way of life, and it was something that I was really drawn to. And as I went through school and I entered into high school, I got really involved in the FFA program there in Alpena and went on to serve as a state officer, which was awesome. And the one thing that I learned during that time was my agriculture teacher, Bill Bartow over in Alpena. He was just incredible. Like, I wanted to be able to help young people like he helped so many young people. So I had decided to go to Michigan State to be an agriculture teacher, and so I did, and I finished my degree, and long story short, we moved to Gaylord here, and life just took a different turn, and I didn't end up teaching at the public school, but instead have homeschooled now my 11 children. And over those first few years, I started doing a little bit of research on food. And one of the things that I was really passionate about was I wanted to have the children eat healthy. So I did a lot of research on grass-fed, and that was something that I really felt strongly about. So because I couldn't find it, I decided, you know, if I couldn't find the meat and that alternative, then maybe I should just do some ourselves. So we started that, and it really at first was only to be able to feed our family and maybe a few friends to help them. And it started that direction. My husband was working a full-time job someplace else, so it really wasn't for an income necessarily here. It was just something that we wanted to fill something that was a void, which was we couldn't find that grass-fed beef and pork and chicken. So we decided to go down that avenue and do it. And then over time, life happens and things change, and the company he was at actually went out of business. So we decided that at that time, let's see what we can do to move forward and to be able to create something that would help us to be able to support the family. And when we started, we had started with poultry, and looking at a big family, that was not going to take care of all of our financial needs. So we really had to diversify, we really had to grow in different directions, and we did just that. So over time it has changed, and we also own other companies, so it isn't just the farming that we're doing right now. We've had to expand in other ways because we wanted to remain a family business in whatever we did, so it required us going in different directions. So at the present time now, we raise beef. We sell that year-round, grass-fed. We raise pigs year-round. We raise chickens, and that's actually just during the summer months because we want them to be grass-fed. So we do that, and we do lambs, and we do Thanksgiving turkeys. One of the other avenues that we have went to is, as the boys were growing up, they started taking a real interest in the draft horses. And you know, those boys are big, and they eat a lot of hay. So we decided, you know, that's something we need to get some income on that. And my grandparents also had a farm with draft horses, and Grandpa used to come down and give us sleigh rides. Lots of Sunday afternoons were spent on sleigh rides. And we really wanted to be able to offer that to other families to be able to enjoy that. So now we went in that direction, and we do sleigh rides during the winter months. So for us here on the farm, we've had to go a lot of different avenues in order to make it work, to be able to support a family on a family farm. And that was something that we wanted at the very beginning. We wanted to be able to work together as a family. Something we're really passionate about is to be able to have this fun place, but this place where the kids can learn to work and they can learn also to work together. So we've been really excited about seeing when our in-laws come into the family and get them involved in some of the different avenues and the different ways that we here, support our family. And some of them have been grown up in the country and some have not, and we just work with that, and we're really thankful to be able to see the in-laws, but also now the grandchildren getting involved. So it's awesome, and that's kind of our story of where we started and why we're where we are now.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Waneta, and thank you so much for opening up the farm for this episode that we're going to share with you guys today. So stay tuned, you don't want to miss this. We're going to be talking about farming and finances.
Your grandchildren are precious to you. They are your life. This is your time to have that special relationship. Taking care of yourself is taking care of them. Centennial Wealth Advisory is offering a free, no-obligation retirement review to make sure you don't run out of money during your retirement. Centennial Wealth Advisory. Your best is yet to come.
Hello, this is Waneta from Cook Family Farm. Welcome to our family farm. Here we raise beef, pork, chicken, Thanksgiving turkeys, and lambs. You can find us at www.cookfamilyfarm.com or at our Facebook. Here at the farm, our little country cabin is open Monday through Friday from 10 to 5 and open Saturday from 10 to 2. You can also order our meat by bulk purchases right through our website, or you can always give us a call at 989-731-1332. Thank you for visiting our farm today.
All right, welcome back, folks. Here we are in the pig pen at Cook Family Farm. You know, it was about 15 years ago or so that I started coming around this farm. I was dating my current wife here, and at that point in time, I wanted to make an impression on the family and, of course, my wife. And so around that time, it was Thanksgiving, and I thought, well, you know what? I'll offer to help butcher turkeys. I had no idea what I had signed up for. I mean, I grew up in Traverse City. I had never been around farming whatsoever, and it was a shocker. In fact, I still don't think of Thanksgiving turkeys the same way. But, you know, what I realized back then, their primary focus at Cook Family Farm was poultry. It was chicken butchering and turkey butchering. But, you know, over the years, they have expanded operations. They're not just focused on one animal anymore. They raise a whole bunch of different animals: pigs, lambs, cattle, all of that stuff, and the list goes on and on. They've expanded those services to grow their business. And that's similar to what's happened with your investment plan in retirement.
Absolutely. You know, when you think of the farming world and how that's changed over time, you know, my family settled in Traverse City back in the 1800s and my grandpa had a giant bottling facility with milking cows, but over the time diversified with other adventures and endeavors and stuff like that. You know, and just like investments in your retirement planning, you can't just focus on one thing. You know, oftentimes we see folks focusing just on the investment piece. That's a big piece of it. That's the part you get a monthly statement on all the time. But that's also not the only piece that you have in everything from that perspective, Nick. You know, when we talk with folks and we help them set up for their plan of retirement, you're going to have income, investment, taxes, estate, health care, long-term care, all these other things, and they play their role. And if you focus on one thing, that plan or lack of plan is destined to fail. As you talked about with farming, and with just one thing, there can be failure in that, and then what do you do?
Yeah, what do you do after that point? And that's why they added these different animals to the farm, and that's why it's so important to not only just focus on the investment side, but all those different aspects that Art talked about in retirement. I mean, the big one for me that I see oftentimes in the Gaylord office is health insurance. You know, people have been working their whole life. Usually health insurance is included with their employment. What happens when they retire and that's no longer an option for them? And that's something that we always like to touch on in those meetings with our clients to make sure they have a plan. They have something in place so that they know they're taken care of. And then tax planning is huge as well. I mean, what happens when you start to actually take money from that portfolio? I mean, you've been stocking away all this money for so many years. Times change when you're in retirement. You're taking money from the portfolio now. What are the tax implications of doing that?
Right, absolutely. You know, those are all pieces that come along with that. You know, and as we're filming this episode or in this show here, you know, in the pig pen, in different spots, you know, you think of all this different planning and all this stuff that goes along with the retirement plan and all the planning that goes along with the farm. You know, we're excited to be out here on location, and you'll kind of see this show progress. And, you know, we like doing these on location shows and out in the community. One, because obviously community is so important to us and what we do. But also, you know, so much of what we remember as humans is through story and through connections. We know a lot of our clients and stuff grew up on farms or down the street or had family with that. And you think of how with farms and all the pieces that go along with that, how much that actually relates back to financial planning and through story and through how that all connects the pieces. And, you know, with here having all these different animals and types of ways that the farm works, and is just like what Nick's talking about and what we've been talking about, all the different ways retirement planning works and the pieces that have to go along with that. You know, when you sit down with a client, Nick, here in the Gaylord office or in the Petoskey office, wherever you may be, and you start laying this out and you hear their story evolve and all the goals that they want as an individual, and then you start to put that pieces together. It isn't just one piece of that puzzle that you have to have, it's multiple pieces. You know, and you were earlier talking about tax planning and healthcare planning and all that sort of stuff. You know, isn't it enjoyable to hear about the retirees' goals and so all these things they want to do, and then starting to put those strategies into place?
Yeah, I mean, that's like my favorite part about this job is when we initially meet with you, that's the first thing we talk about is we want to hear your story. What are you about? What are your goals for retirement? And then we can develop that plan around those goals. So if you're interested in a free, no obligation consultation, please don't hesitate to give us a call on the screen. We'd love to help. And stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss what's coming up next. We might even have John or Art catch a chicken. Hi there, my name is Nick Greenman, financial advisor with Centennial Wealth Advisory. I just want to take a moment to welcome you to the Gaylord office location. My wife and I are proud to call Gaylord home and just would love to see you here in Gaylord. If you have any questions on your retirement plan, your portfolio, whether it's investment planning, income planning, tax planning, health insurance planning, please don't hesitate to reach out to the number on the screen. We'd be happy to schedule a free, no obligation consultation to look at all those areas in your retirement plan. We look forward to helping you plan to retire well.
If you like watching Retiring Well, make sure to go to youtube.com/retiringwell and click the subscribe button to never miss any of our TV shows and other informative videos.
Oh, what a great day to be outside here at the Cook family farm. You know, we find ourselves today in their chicken coop here with our egg-laying hens. And it, you know, kind of brings to mind, obviously, when we talk about retirement planning and when we think about this, kind of the cliche saying of, you know, don't put all your eggs in one basket. You know, and we're here around surrounded by egg-laying hens, and when we think about that, but really with investing, it is in times that we find ourselves in right now, especially in 2022, with the various challenges of the market, what more important thing that you can be doing as an investor than thinking about diversification? You think back to the year of 2020, 2021, where for the most part, growth, large cap growth investments were doing so well. Your typical tech companies, stuff like that. So if you'd have been an investor where you had the majority of your investments in that, you'd have done quite well. But then now we find ourselves 2022 here, different times, you know, and so these chickens, you know, I had chickens growing up. My wife and I had a hobby barn for years before we had children, and I learned over the years that, you know, for chickens, they need a lot of light and typically warmer temperatures and certain types of nutrition in their food, and they lay more efficiently and lay more eggs, excuse me. But then in the winter, as the daylight gets less and the temperatures drop, they don't lay as much. Well, with investments, there's going to be certain times where some things do better than others, right, John?
Yeah, most definitely, Art, and that's where I think of like today in 2022, we're sort of looking at this somewhat rare time where both stocks and bonds have fallen together. So a lot of times you'll find, well, the bonds are supposed to be maybe that little more conservative piece of the portfolio while you're taking the greater amount of risk within the stocks. But if you look at some of the charts out there through the first quarter of 2022, there had only been, I think, 16 times where a full quarter of the market going back to 1976 where you saw both stocks and bonds fall. So it doesn't happen all that often, but there's definitely been a view of history there where you've seen that occur. But then it's also looking at, okay, where do we find ourselves in today in high inflationary times, and then looking back to maybe the early 80s and how did those stocks and bonds respond with the following 6 months, 1 year, 3 years later. So there's going to be a lot of movement going on in the market, but again, it comes back to that diversification factor. And just to point out real quick too, earlier before this filming, Art was chasing down one of these chickens and was able to pick one up. I myself just sort of let Art do that part. So he might be a little bit bigger risk taker when it comes to the chickens, and that may be the case too when it comes to investments, right?
Well, it's possible, right? And you think of retirement planning and like these chickens here, you know, they all serve different purposes. It's just like on the farm, there's different animals and stuff like that. But when we're looking at these eggs in the basket here, for you, maybe that if you're leading up to retirement or in retirement, and what does that look like for you? That diversification may be different, you know, as you age and just as a chicken's lifestyle goes along, they kind of different things happen at different times. So when you, maybe that diversification, you sat down and talked to an advisor when you were in your 40s or 50s and you had this certain mix, as you age and you get into retirement, or maybe when you start taking distributions or income, it's going to change again.
Well, and that's where I think about, I mean, not only diversification from a stock bond perspective, but what about other types of accounts that are out there? I mean, as far as our firm, our different insurance licensed representatives, so there are different types of fixed annuities that just pay a fixed interest rate, or fixed index annuities that tie your returns to the performance of the market, and how those sometimes having those types of accounts that don't have risk might play a factor more so during your retirement years versus those earlier stages. Or what about life insurance? I mean, that's something else that comes up that a lot of times people at this stage maybe of retirement say, well, I'm too old for life insurance. Well, maybe actually there's no better time to have some type of life insurance in place to consider for a surviving spouse, to have a tax-free asset left behind. Or what about these different types of life insurance policies that have an accelerated death benefit rider that allow you to withdraw money early from the death benefit to help pay for long-term care. So there's a lot of different options to consider outside of your just typical investments.
Absolutely. You know, I hope you enjoyed this topic here and thinking about the not having your all in eggs in one basket. If you're somebody that you're not sure how you're diversified, or maybe where your eggs are at or how they're positioned, give us a call. We'd love to walk through with that. You know, we thought we'd have a little fun out here in the community today with doing some of this. We hope you thought it was enjoyable as well. And once again, we'd love to give you a no cost, no obligation review of your investments just so you can plan to retire well.
In today's day and age, with a longer lifespan, you're more likely to encounter both good and bad market performance. For that reason, when planning for retirement, it's increasingly important to seek guidance from a financial advisor who can help you structure an income strategy that reflects your financial situation, risk tolerance, and investment objectives. You don't want just any advice, but objective financial advice. With so much at stake, it's important that you feel you can trust a financial advisor to consider a wide variety of possible solutions, including both investment and insurance products. Here at Centennial Wealth Advisory, we're not beholden to any certain investment tools or vehicles. We're independent. We can offer a wide variety of investment tools that meet your needs. So please, if you have any questions or you want to schedule an initial consultation, don't hesitate to give us a call at the number on the screen. We're happy to help in any way that we can. All right, welcome back, folks. We are on location here at Cook Family Farm in Gaylord, Michigan. John and I are standing in front of some Belgian draft horses. And essentially what they are is they're tools for around the farm. Now, 100 years ago or so, they had a much larger role in the farm. They were oftentimes found plowing fields, pulling logs out of the forest, or anything that required some heavy lifting. These guys were tasked with that job. Nowadays, as technology has changed, things have changed, right? Now we use tractors or skid steers to do that heavy lifting. But they still are here on Cook Family Farm playing a very important role.
Yeah, most definitely. That's what makes me think about looking back at investing over the years. And you think back to originally stocks were the start of the different investments, and ultimately people, everyday individuals, weren't necessarily able to afford investing in stocks. And so that's, as time moved along, then you had mutual funds were created where you own maybe fractional shares of a number of different stocks to have a diversified portfolio. And now today you hear more and more about exchange traded funds, these ETFs, and how they may be a lower cost option of how to invest. And so you see, as time moves along, how that changes, and ultimately you adapt to what the changing times bring. So.
Yeah, and another little point to make here is that these horses, they work together as a team to accomplish whatever their goals were, like plowing the fields, like I said. But the key word there is a team. So in order for them to pull these massive amounts of weight, they have to be in sync. They have to be cohesively working together to pull the maximum amount of weight that they can. And if they don't, you could not pull much of anything, or it could result in a disaster. There's also someone driving those horses, right? We've got to have somebody in charge of them, making sure that they start at the same time and work together to pull the weight. It kind of reminds me of how we need to have your investments working together as a team as well, right? I mean, if you've got stocks in the portfolio and you're in retirement, it's most likely there for long-term growth. Then you've probably got a bucket of bonds and maybe a bucket more of safety or no market risk investments. We need to make sure that all of those are working together as a team so that you're not surprised when a market correction comes along and you're too heavily weighted in the stock position. Or maybe you don't have enough in the stocks and you got too much in bonds. Those are the things that we need to make sure everything is working together to accomplish whatever your retirement goals may be.
Yeah, I like that point, Nick, as we're talking about this team aspect and the driver, and that's ultimately at Centennial Wealth Advisory, sort of one of our focuses is being the driver of your retirement plan, not just for the investment side, but then trying to help you map out income. I mean, you think of that in retirement as 20 to 30 years of unemployment. So how do you structure a portfolio to generate a stable income stream during those retirement years? And that ultimately goes hand in hand with the tax side, how we've got a team here where we're looking at not just the annual tax preparation, but what about tax planning and what that impact may be for you as maybe a majority of your assets are in 401k or traditional IRAs that haven't been taxed yet. Well, what is the impact over the next 20, 30 years of drawing from those retirement accounts? Have you looked at or considered Roth conversions as a potential planning option? So going beyond that, then you get into the estate planning side and partnering with different estate planning attorneys. And then we have a health insurance team as well that's going to be evaluating, prior to 65 with the marketplace, what options are available to you, and then at 65 with Medicare, evaluating sort of what different options you have from supplemental options to Medicare Advantage plans, and analyzing that along with maybe long-term care insurance and life insurance planning. So there's a lot of different aspects to your overall retirement plan, and as Nick talked about earlier, those adapt over time, and that's ultimately what we've been doing here at Centennial Wealth as time moves along. I've been with the firm now 17 years and trying to see how do we need to adapt to make sure to best serve you. And so that's our objective. Our tagline is plan to retire well. So that's overall what we're trying to help you accomplish. And if it's something that you have questions about your overall retirement plan, we encourage you just to reach out to us. No cost, no obligation visit, and let us help you plan to retire well.
Living life isn't always easy. It puts up challenges and obstacles you'll have to overcome. There are responsibilities. You put in effort to provide and take care of your family, and to save and invest, to balance work and life. Planning is the first step to succeeding. Plan to retire well.
Hello, this is Waneta from Cook Family Farm. Welcome to our family farm. Here we raise beef, pork, chicken, Thanksgiving turkeys, and lambs. You can find us at www.cookfamilyfarm.com or at our Facebook. Here at the farm, our little country cabin is open Monday through Friday from 10 to 5 and open Saturday from 10 to 2. You can also order our meat by bulk purchases right through our website, or you can always give us a call at 989-731-1332. Thank you for visiting our farm today.
Hi there, my name is Nick Greenman, Financial Advisor with Centennial Wealth Advisory. I just want to take a moment to welcome you to the Gaylord office location. My wife and I are proud to call Gaylord home and just would love to see you here in Gaylord. If you have any questions on your retirement plan, your portfolio, whether it's investment planning, income planning, tax planning, health insurance planning, please don't hesitate to reach out to the number on the screen. We'd be happy to schedule a free, no obligation consultation to look at all those areas in your retirement plan. We look forward to helping you plan to retire well.
At Centennial Wealth Advisory, we take a holistic approach to your retirement planning. So it's not just looking at what your investments are, but what is that long-term income plan for the next 30, 40 years of your retirement? What about taxes and what role they play in your retirement plan? Estate planning, what about life insurance, health insurance planning, all key areas to consider when looking at your retirement. So please visit our website or call the number on the screen. We'd love the opportunity to sit down with you for a no cost, no obligation visit.
All right, thank you everyone for joining us here at Centennial Wealth Advisory on location at Cook Family Farm. And thank you, Waneta, for opening your farm to us for this episode today. If you found this information valuable or you want more information, please don't hesitate to reach out to both Cook Family Farm information on the bottom of the screen and our information as well. We'd love to hear from you. We'll see you next week.